Hey, you big dumb idiot. Looks like you got yourself a saucy hand.
Yeah, I do.
Try yourself a Picasso boneless wing. Maybe next.
Well,
Outlet Liquor is your place to buy a case. Stock up and save when you shop the lowest prices available every day at Outlet Liquor. You never have to wait for a sale. The more you buy, the more you save. Only at Outlet Liquor.
What's your outlet?
Yeah. Bills Mafia. Don Brown. Yeah. It's the Mafia, you know I'm rocking with the Bills. It's the Mafia, you know I'm rocking with the Bills. It's the Mafia, I'm with the Buffalo Bills. It's the Mafia, you know I'm rocking with the Bills. Hey, who you reppin', what's your team? Who you reppin', what's your team? You know I'm reppin' for my team. I got that talent on my team. Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, can you catch it? Can you? Trade day is like a mask, you not catching anything.
folks, welcome into a brand new episode of the Crowd Assist podcast. It's a Buffalo Bills game day, and this is the official pregame show of Trainwreck Sports, the first divisional matchup of the year for the Buffalo Bills, and in my opinion, it could not be coming at a better time. Wake here with Kevin Masseri. Happy Bills game day, man. How are you feeling today ahead of an oddly important Week 2 game for the Bills?
Feeling great in my brand new spanking office that I set up here. Great podcast setup I have down here. Couldn't be happier to rip my first show down here in the brand new office, and looking forward to many additions down here.
Yep, and we'll decorate that wall with some stuff from Picasso's, Outlet Liquor, coming. All of our sponsors here at Trainwreck Sports. Rec Room, someone we're going to be working with a lot this season, and they're right now at the official Bills party for Trainwreck Sports. Maniac is there. He's got Beat Miami up on the screen. Maniac, what's the scene like down there on Chippewa right now?
Yeah, I mean, this crowd is ready to unleash. They're letting people in just about now. The gate is pretty booked. As you look behind me, you see a good line forming. And yeah, we're at the cross street here. Franklin and Delaware, Chippewa has never been more ready for a party than it is right now. But I'm just focused on 1-0. I'm not focused on the party. I'm not focused on the great time that it's going to be. I'm not focused on the awesome times that are to be had. I'm focused on this 1-0, gentlemen.
And how do we get there, Maniac? What do you think is needed for the Bills to get the win today against the Dolphins?
I think everything is early and often. Pressure to Tagovailoa, to turn the ball over early and get throwing it all over that Miami defense early and often. Have Reed Ferguson on the sideline looking great all game early and often because you're not punting the ball. Those are my three keys, and those are my three keys to victory, Wake.
And so I imagine you don't agree with Mateo, who is commenting on YouTube that he's a Bills fan, but thinks the Bills might lose 28-27.
The Bills could lose this. That's what makes it so scary. I mean, you can't be 0-2. They're only a couple point favorites. Anything can happen in the NFL. But with that said, I mean, how confident can you be? I mean, you have to be confident. You got Josh Allen versus Miami. That's basically like having Kel in an orange soda drinking competition. Okay, there's going to be distinction one way or the other. And it's likely going to be number 17 for the Bills. Get to Rec Room. Get to Chippewa.
Well, Maniac, I know you got a big party down there. You got a lot of shit to do today. I'm going to let you go to it. Rep us well and go Bills, all right?
31-23 Bills.
31-23 Bills. Heard it from Maniac. Thanks so much, man. We'll be keeping up with you all day at Rec Room. But for now, we are going to continue to preview this game here. Mateo is saying that he hopes we win, but going up another top 5 defense. Is the Dolphins, Kevin, do you think the Dolphins defense is a top 5 defense in the NFL like Mateo's implying?
I think they played well against New England, and they played well in stretches last year. I mean, they were the number 1 scoring defense until Josh Allen took care of them in Week 17 to really bury them. They dropped them a couple of slots. They're good. I mean, their defense is good. I don't think their offense is nearly caught up to that defense at all. I mean, so I don't know if I can call them a top. I think there was some fluky statistics in there. I don't love their front 7 at all. Like I've said many times, I think they have a really good defensive back unit, but I think there's some exploitable matchups on that front 7 here today for the Bills, especially they're not going to have nearly the pass rush that someone like Pittsburgh did.
Yeah, no, exactly. And, we talked about that a lot on the Crowd Assist podcast and the Folding Roundtable. We talked about it as well. We had Joe Miller, who had a podcast with former Bill John Fina. They take a long look at the offensive line pretty much every single week. And, the one thing that he came away with was basically, Cody Ford was fantastic last week. Mitch Morse was, dependable as a center. He had a pretty decent game, but everyone else on the offensive line was kind of a liability. But you point to the opponent. They were one of the best pass rushes, if not the number one pass rush in the NFL. They added Melvin Ingram in the offseason, so that just got even better. And Josh said he hated playing against someone rushing at him with a single-digit number on his jersey. So, that could have been part of it too. That's something that offensive lines are going to have to adjust to. But the reality is Deion Dawkins and Darrell Williams have to bounce back. Like, they just looked really, really bad. Dawkins does have that. He did say yesterday that he's, or Friday, I'm sorry, in a press conference, he still doesn't fully feel himself. Do you expect we can see more of him? Because he was letting the contact come to him. He wasn't really he wasn't attacking the point, the line of scrimmage. So what do you think we need to see from Deion Dawkins, and can we see it still close to his battle with COVID?
Yeah, I think you're going to see a more winnable matchup today for Deion. I think if you need to rotate him, you have to rotate him. I think it's part of, they're doing it at other positions. If it's best for Deion and the team, I think you need to rotate him a little bit more, get him some breathers, especially
Spencer Brown.
Exactly. Especially if there's a matchup in there that is causing him some stress. I don't see it today here with, Emmanuel Ogbah, Christian Wilkins, kind of in their hybrid, type of defense that they run here underneath George Gadji and Josh Boyer. So I don't think there's going to be that huge matchup that's going to cause him a lot of stress. But hey, I mean, if they start getting after him, they're going to have to do something about it. But I don't see the linebacking core of Andrew Van Ginkel and Jerome Baker giving him much hassle either. So it's really going to be that 3-3-5 that they like to run there in Miami. And I don't know if that's going to cause a lot of stress necessarily on Deion Dawkins. It's going to cause a little bit more stress on maybe, say, Josh Allen. And they're, pretty much Pittsburgh putting on film to drop as many as you can into zone coverages. That might put a little bit more stress on the Bills today, but I'm not going to see as much stress today from the pass rush. It's going to be a little bit more winnable matchups from Deion Dawkins and the whole entire offensive line unit, missing their nose tackle, which is, in my opinion, a pretty big loss to be missing at this point in the year. So lots of good matchups coming out of this matchup. And then, they're inactivating in their first round corner last year, Noah Igbenogany, a guy that they had pretty high hopes for. So, they do have a great starting defensive back unit, but can they handle much ding ups or in this hot heat? They cannot. It's just whereas if the Bills lose Levi Wallace and go to Dane Jackson, not much of a downgrade. Whereas they'll take a significant downgrade if they miss one of their defensive backs. So I think there's definitely some big winnable matchups, some short passes the Bills are going to have to take. And hey, if activating 5 running backs today has anything to tell you, I'm still going my prediction last week that their front 7 is pretty weak. Why would you throw into the teeth of their defense, even with a strong one of the top quarterbacks in the league? I don't know that that's the greatest Brian Daboll game plan, coming off of a pretty poor Brian Daboll game plan. They're going to have to run the ball today, everybody. I mean, that's what's going to have to happen. You're going to see names like John Jenkins and Christian Wilkins and Emmanuel Ogbah. These aren't names that should be causing that. Sure, they may make a play or two. They get paid to, but they aren't going to be wreckers into your living room. I think you got to run the ball today. And if that's evidenced by keeping Breida and Moss active with Singletary, which doesn't happen much, it really doesn't happen much to see 5 running backs right now in the NFL. I know you're given basically a spot and a half, a spot and 3/4 to special teams, which Wake, we'll talk about at a different time. I don't love that, especially with how bad the punt units were last week.
Exactly.
But they do have 5 running backs active today.
Yeah, and we're looking at the inactives here. Andre Smith, who I was hoping, not maybe really hoping, but expecting he would see some more playing time. He's a reliable tackler, did lead the NFL in tackles last year, or led the Texans in tackles last year. Tommy Doyle, offensive lineman. He could have been, I imagine that because of him being active, to me, that says that they feel okay about Deion Dawkins and that Spencer Brown can sub in when needed. I'm guessing they feel like Deion might be in a better spot than he was last week. F.A. Obata, it makes sense to see some guys off of the defensive line, but Harrison Phillips and Boogie Basham, Boogie, it sucks to see your second round pick inactive 2 weeks in a row. And then Harrison Phillips, I mean, I guess, Starr's back in the lineup. He's going to be a full go today, but again, this we've been talking all offseason. It's a big year for Harrison Phillips. This is his make or break year as a Buffalo Bill. If he doesn't show out, he really probably won't be back in this uniform next year. And him being inactive week 2 after a loss, that spells some concerns to me personally.
Yeah, I mean, the inactives are strange today. I'm going to admit it. I'm still not in love. I wasn't in love with it last year. It's not just a slot on Boogie. I'm not in love with inactivating your second-round rookies. I think that needs to be a little bit more of a game-changing position at that slot. I know we're not talking about the Dick Duran years of past and some of those teams that we've had in the past, but you really need your second-round pick to be a little bit better. Even last year in their great team that they had as well, by week 2, AJ Epinesa was active. Everyone said, well, AJ spent like half the year inactive. Not true. He did not. He spent a game here and there inactive. Definitely didn't spend 2 weeks at the start of the season inactive. Not what you want to see from your second round pick, especially doubling down and tripling down in some sense on the defensive end position when you have needs at the cornerback spot. I don't understand that roster building style there, but hey, if that was their best player available and they think that'll work out for them, that's what they're going to have to do. And then you're inactivating basically your front 7. So, that's some front 7 depth right there. You're talking about 4 of your front 7 depth players. So they must have a pretty good feeling with their base defense mixed in with a lot of DB usage, even though the Bills play a lot of nickel. They don't go too deep with their DBs. So I'm not quite sure what the philosophy there is on defense, and then keeping a fourth safety like Hamlin active on game day as well, which I thought would be one of the first people you'd have to make inactive.
Honestly, because how worried are you about, the Tua deep ball? Like, I'm personally not very worried. Like, JC Jackson, and even, on the folding roundtable on Thursday night, Lisa Johnson, Miami Dolphins beat reporter for artsforfootball.com, basically verified, if Tua doesn't get his first read, he panics. He still has not grown in that respect yet. And it was nice to hear, an unbiased Dolphins reporter say, Tua has a lot of work to do. And, I feel like, I trust we don't really need that fourth safety. I don't know if we need the 5th running back right now. I feel like it's like an overemphasization on emphasize. That might not be a word, but it's overemphasis on overcorrecting the special teams from last week, because that was just a disaster all around. Like, if you take away the Isaiah McKenzie initial, kickoff return on the first play of the game, that awful special teams units. And I was there at the game, and it was an amazing, experience. Just like the first play, that was the loudest. My friend Eric sitting next to me said, this is the 4th loudest football stadium I've ever been in after that Isaiah McKenzie return. And then after that, they just couldn't capitalize once. So, between that and obviously, they just didn't have good play calling on special teams between, all of the, should you go for it with the punch? Should you go for it? And last week,
it wasn't a good down.
It was a bad. It was a really.
Then they went 0 for 2 on 4th.
And that's why I'm stuttering over, because I'm just speechless that a Sean McDermott team is 28th in special teams DVOA after week 1. That's just super uncharacteristic of a Sean McDermott coached football team. And for me, we'll get into some keys to the game here. My biggest key to the game is just fixing 4th down and special teams, because like I said on our Wednesday show, as bad as every other part of the game was, if we just had okay special teams, we would have won that game. It would have been close. We would have been a nail biter, closer than we wanted it to. But that came to be the difference maker. It was a blocked punt and botched blocking on it. So for me, it's 4th down and special teams is the biggest key to this game for me. Just clean up the little things, and this team is talented enough to have the rest of the game come to you. If you're looking at this matchup between the Dolphins and the Bills, what's maybe one of the biggest keys for the Bills to come away with a victory?
I think they need balance today. That's my number one key to the game. They need balance on the offensive side of the ball. Don't get into a situation where you're going to need to throw the ball all over the field. You have the personnel to run the ball today. Not Mr. Run the Ball. I wanted to see an upgrade at the running back position all offseason. I didn't get it. And then, they go ahead and inactivate Zach Moss on week 1. Is that something the Bills wish they had back? We'll never know if they wish they could have corrected the running back position earlier on in this offseason. But I do believe that the team, between the run blocking and the running backs, do think that balance is the number one thing that you're looking for today, especially against a weaker defensive front. You're bringing in your heavy packages. It looks like you're keeping Tommy Sweeney active. You're doing a couple of other things that show me that you need to run the ball today, and you need to get some pressure off of Josh Allen and get that offense in rhythm. How do you do that? I think you need a better balance. You need that threat of running on first down. And more importantly than all that, you need that threat of play action. So I think those are the ways that the Bills go ahead and complete a much better offensive game plan. Defense, a play here and there. I'm pointing on defense to Levi Wallace's struggles, but other than that, I thought they played a pretty good game. And yeah, they need to be way better on fourth down, like you said. It wasn't good. The Bills went -4 in the special teams department, with the field goal to start the game, and then minus the punt block. They win. I'm going to go as far as saying they win the game with better special teams. Not 100%. A good day from Heath Farwell. A good day from Heath Farwell. Need to correct it in a hurry. Need that special teams unit to be way, way better than it was last week. It just wasn't good. If you're going to dedicate the amount of roster spots, including 2 running back positions,
and they emphasize that too. It seems like they go out of their way to justify it sometimes in press conferences. So
28th in DVOA doesn't justify it at this point. I'd rather you have the guys like Boogie Basham active on game day than if you're going to go 28th in DVOA on special teams. That needs to change in a hurry. So, I think special teams is a good department. They cannot get slaughtered in that area again today. And they certainly need to have more balance on the offensive side of the ball. Defense, stay with what they were doing. I thought it was fine. I don't like Levi Wallace, but I don't think he's going to get out jump every play of the game. But we'll see. His frequent foe, Preston Williams, is active on the other side of the ball. Players like that just absolutely annihilate corners like Levi Wallace.
And, obviously Taron Johnson in the slot has a big matchup against Jalen Waddle. And that's another key to this is how can Taron Johnson do against maybe the best rookie wide receiver? Him and Jamar Chase are going to be neck and neck for that title all season long. But, if you look at Taron Johnson, I'll pull up the same stats that we used on the Crowdus podcast on Wednesday. Taron Johnson maybe had the best game out of all of and obviously, he did give up, 19 yards per
Juju,
it was 1 to Juju, and the slot is genuinely the hardest spot of the field to defend as a cornerback in fantasy football. On Trainer Fantasy Football, we've been talking about how all season that slot targets are the most valuable targets that a wide receiver can get because on average they just get more yards. That's just how the slot goes. And Taron Johnson's definitely going to have his hands full against Jalen Waddle. But, you see these 7 tackles, no missed tackles last week for Taron Johnson against, he didn't just have Juju in the slot. He was making tackles on Najee. He was helping out on Chase Claypool. He's another physical cornerback that's a surefire tackler. So, Taron Johnson had a good week last week. I am, however, a little worried about how he can stack up against Jalen Waddle. And, thank you, Robin. Thank you for sending love from Wyoming. We love you and we miss you. We'll see you on the folding round table on Thursday. Man, God bless Robin, godmother of Bills Mafia. Love to see it. But how worried are you about Taron Johnson against Jalen Waddle? Do you think maybe that's just as bad of a matchup for the Bills as Preston Williams against Levi Wallace?
I don't love it, but I like that he's a rookie. We might not love it more either later in this year or a different season. But I'm not overly worried about that matchup right now. I think the physical nature will kind of pop Waddle, where he may not be used to that physical nature. So I think that should help at least for week 2 in the NFL of his rookie year. I think Juju's just as established of a route runner. He does a lot of things well. He's a little more possession based. Is he a better route runner today than Waddle? I don't know. I might think he is. So I'm not as concerned. That Preston Williams matchup on the outside is absolutely I have nightmares about it. I don't know that Tua's first read's going to always be to Preston Williams.
Yeah, right.
Which is good. But I specifically don't love it, and I'm not as worried, obviously, about the Devontae Parker versus Trey White matchup, even though Devontae has good matchups against Trey White as in his history. So, I think it is a benefit, and then you're going to mix in Matt Collins and Albert Wilson.
Yeah, speedy guys.
Yeah, they'll get in their speedy guys, whatever. I do think it is the Bills have struggled historically when Will Fuller plays. I think that is big news that he is not out there today and active. I think the Dolphins were expecting that. So I think that's a big blow to their already meager offense. But I mean, let's call it what it is. We talked about the Bills offensive line and struggling last weekend. It did. But there's no way the Miami Dolphins offensive line is any good. It's one of the worst in the NFL.
Especially on the interior. They're very tackle heavy.
They've invested a lot of picks. They've been bouncing Liam Eichenberg around and basically put him back to the bench from what I've been hearing for Robert Hunt. Don't like their tackles either with Jesse Davis and Austin Jackson. I think they got some room to do there. Greg Little from Carolina is inactive today.
Yep.
I think it's an offensive line that is on par or worse than the Steelers. Bills did really good against that Steelers offensive line last week for the most part. I do think they need to get after it again, stop the run. They don't have an established running game, similar to the Bills. Like Gaskin's kind of like Singletary. Malcolm Brown's kind of like Zach Moss. Ahmed is kind of like Breida. They kind of have that.
It's funny how they mirror each other. Yeah.
Running back unit. So lots of winnable matchups on the Bills defense. And everyone's like, well, you can't be perfect. Well, I mean, the Bills are going to need a really good defensive game plan today. And you cannot have Preston Williams, the only winning matchup against Levi Wallace again. Can't have it. You got to have a bad play. You're 111th, and you need to do better for your defense this week. Regardless of like, well, Levi Wallace didn't lose the game for the team. Well,
he didn't win it though. He didn't win it either. That's the problem.
He didn't, but could they have won with a better performance at CB2? I think they could have. Yeah, you could say, well, also if you didn't block punt, whatever. But to me, it's like directly cornerback 2 could have affected the game and could have knocked the ball down or played better coverage. It was an awful performance last week from him. I cannot have it this week against Preston Williams.
No, if it happens against Preston Williams, the only way I can justify it last week is that Steelers receiving core is way better than what we're going to see from the Dolphins today. So this is really a get right game for the Bills. It's a game they should not lose. And it's a game that if that does happen, then I will hear some of the, regression, maybe, or how serious of a contender are the Bills. Maybe then I would hear that discussion. But, as far as I'm concerned, and we'll get into our picks in a little bit, this should be not as difficult as it was last week for the Bills. But one thing that could make it difficult is the matchup of Matt Milano and Mike Gesicki. Matt Milano usually has Gesicki's number. Gesicki's yards against the Bills usually come in garbage time, and I want to see that trend continue. This team does have a history of kind of getting decimated by tight ends and running backs under Sean McDermott. Not worried about the running backs on Miami, as we just talked about. They're a pretty underwhelming unit, but Mike Gesicki is still just a freak athlete, physically gifted tight end. And Matt Milano did a pretty good job on Eric Ebron and Pat Freiermuth last week. However, this is a completely different animal in Mike Gesicki. And we talked a little bit about this on the Folding Roundtable on Thursday night. And so I want to play you guys just a little clip from what Lisa Johnson had to say about how the Patriots attacked them and about how Mike Gesicki is going to factor into this game.
Wow. Bill Belichick put a team together this year that, for me, is a team that other defenses don't want to play against. He's very much trying to recall that Aaron Hernandez, Rob Gronkowski, double tight ends that can kill you type of an offense, which most defenses don't have the ability to necessarily scheme against or stop. What did you see from their offense, whether good or bad, and did they use it the way that I fear they're going to use it against us? Because we've traditionally had a problem covering tight ends, one tight end, let alone two tight ends.
Oh man!
So yeah,
and that's a very good point, Joe. Because honestly, I was on a show this morning. And we actually talked about it. I personally think that's the offense you're going to see from the Dolphins this weekend. Really? I think you're going to get a whole lot of Gesicki, and we just got Sheehan back, and you're going to see some. I think he's going to use it, but you understand that's Coach Flo coming from a branch of the Patriots,
right?
Because Bill Belichick, that's their bread and butter. Let's be honest. The last years with Brady was that double tight end set that killed us for 20 years,
right?
So I kind of think that the MO for the Dolphins this weekend is going to be almost kind of mimics that.
Yeah.
So.
And so, two tight end sets. I don't know how officially worried we are about someone like Adam Shaheen. He's just kind of like a Tyler Kroft kind of guy. No one really, really special. But, the two tight end sets, play action, could spell trouble. And as we said, that's something we want to see the Bills use a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta rebuttal that by saying, then why didn't they do it last week against New England, the team aforementioned? I don't know.
Shaheen was off the COVID list. That's the only reason why.
No, I'm talking about Gesicki.
Yeah.
18 snaps. I don't know, man. I don't know what that says.
Mm-hmm. And she couldn't even justify that on, before, during, or after when we were recording that show.
So what is Coach Flo's identity then? If you're going to go from your tight end one not playing, and then all of a sudden you're going to start to play the Patriot style of offense the next week, I don't understand. I don't know that. Yeah, did the Bills lose? Yes, they lost because they were out coached at points in that game. However, the changing to no, let's call it what it is. You guys they have straight up a passing offense. Now they invested into it with Parker. They invested into Waddle, like Fuller, but he's not playing. I mean, you invested into that receiving room, and then you're going to tell me you're going to run out Adam Shaheen? All for it. Like, I mean,
yeah, you say what's Brian Flores' coaching style, and I think it's just indecisiveness between the throwing Jacoby Brissett out there at random. He used Ryan
and a closer at quarterback last year.
Yeah, exactly. So and what he's doing with Eichenberg now, and how he's putting out who's probably a top 6 tight end in the NFL. Debatably, he's giving him 18 snaps in a game against the New England Patriots. I mean, they won, so I mean, scoreboard. I said it. Yielded the Dolphins scoreboard in the division, but. If Brian Flores continues this indecisiveness, I'm not sure exactly how long that'll last. But there, Kevin, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you can run the Adam Shaheen, Durham Smythe, Cethan Carter offense all you want. I'm not going to absolutely, if that takes off of receiver off the field, which I think they're pretty good at, you're going to take off Waddle off the field. You're going to take off even Preston Williams or even Jakeem Grant. Have at it. I mean, go ahead and play that. The Bills were better against the tight end last week, in my opinion, and they've been historically. I mean, they've focused solely in zones, and guess who beat zone coverage? Tight ends. They ran an exclusive man last week, and it did neutralize the tight end a little bit more. Not as worried about it this year. Who I'm more worried about still? Cornerback too. Not as worried about teams running the ball against man, and I'm not worried about teams finding their tight end against man, especially if they don't feel like using Gesicki. So there's plenty to love on the defensive side of the ball for the Bills, and I'm not gonna beat myself up if they decide to go double tight end set and try to beat us at Matt Milano and Trey Edmonds, one of our stronger units.
Yeah, no, attacking the strength of a defense doesn't sound like a great great strategy. Last year, when the Bills' defensive line was at least less solid, it worked because then the linebackers, obviously, we talked about it way too much last year, just got pushed out of their assignments way too much. But there are other games in the NFL, of course, today. So we'll go around the NFL, and then we'll give our picks for the Bills game, our score predictions at the end of it. We're going to start with Cleveland and Houston. Cleveland is a 12.5-point favorite. And I don't know if I love that or not. I'm not touching the spread, but this is a slam dunk for Cleveland to win. It seems like it's a very Cleveland type of loss to have, but I just can't pick the Texans to beat the Browns this week.
Are we playing with the line? I can't remember.
Let's just do straight up winners.
Oh, okay. Then the Browns.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Panthers, Saints. Saints are favored by 3.5. And I, just sticking with the regular money line, I think the Saints come away with this one pretty handily. Take control of that division.
Yep. I don't have an argument on that one.
All right. Rams, Colts. I mean, Rams easily, right? Is there nothing to think about there either? We're going to keep zooming through this.
I think we got to go Rams. Yeah, we'll find one, but I think we're going to have to go Rams.
Jets, Patriots. No doubt in my mind that Bill Belichick completely embarrasses Zach Wilson. One of my favorite bets for this week is the Jets under 17.5 points for their team total. So
rookie quarterbacks don't beat Bill Belichick, which there was more to talk about there. Even Sam Darnold, we'd have a better discussion, but I'm going New England on this one.
Denver and Jacksonville. Again, good defense, rookie quarterback. Trevor Lawrence looked pretty bad last week as the first overall pick against a bad defense in the Houston Texans. It's Denver all day. It's easy for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think there could be a little bit of fun there. I think it's possible we see a better Trevor Lawrence than that. But yeah, a better defense. I don't love Denver's offense still. They still haven't gotten it going. No Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah.
Sutton's coming off of a major injury. I don't love that offense a lot. I really don't. I really don't like it that much. But we'll go Denver.
Yeah, a lot of good matchups for fantasy in that one, but yeah, the Denver offense value is dwindling pretty quickly right now. This one is where it starts to get a little more exciting, I think. We saved all the good ones for last, actually. Wow. Eagles, 49ers. This is going to be a really fun game. Probably a lot of points in this one. I think I kind of like the Eagles to take this one. I don't love Jimmy Garoppolo. I think that the 49ers are going to be starting Trey Lance by week 5 or so. Detroit put up a shocking fight against the 49ers last week. So I think the Eagles are going to kind of send a wake-up call into the Bay Area.
Yeah, I got the Eagles actually as well. I love you mentioned the rookie receivers and forgot Devontae Smith. I think he could be one of the best rookie receivers in this class. And Jalen Hurts played way better than I thought he would as a Jalen Hurts fantasy owner in my main league. He did me right. I think it's possible he could still continue to do it. And I just saw actually Josh Norman starting at cornerback after being signed last week for the 49ers.
Wow. Yikes.
I don't know about that. A guy that the Bills could have probably had in their back pocket and decided to roll with Levi Wallace and Dane Jackson over. I don't know how much volumes that speaks for San Francisco right now. I mean, I'm going, and you mentioned Garoppolo. I mean, I'm going with Philadelphia.
Yeah, and kind of on that San Francisco note, apparently Richard Sherman is in a much better place than he was in the offseason, and now is fielding many offers from many teams and expects to play in a football team, on a football team in sometime this season. So, that's maybe someone we could see the Bills be adding. If the 49ers could have had him by now, I'm pretty sure he already would have signed there. I guess he doesn't want to go back to that team personally. Vegas and Pittsburgh. I got a funny feeling that Vegas is going to win this game. I got a really funny feeling that Vegas is going to win this game. Their pass rush is a lot more effective than the Bills, and that's going to make up, in my opinion, for the back end of that defense, which I think is substantially worse. But that's what you need, is kind of a complementary thing going on defense. If the Bills had a better pass rush last week, it wouldn't have been close in that game, to be honest. And I think the Eagles are going to make life really hard for Ben. I don't think they're going to be a lot of points. I think it's going to be an ugly game. I think a lot of Pittsburgh's games are going to be ugly games this year. But I think I see Vegas pulling this one out.
I got Pittsburgh. I just cannot see Vegas doing 2 John Gruden games in a row. I don't see it, like beating 2 AFC North teams. I'm going to have to go Pittsburgh. I think that pass rush is going to get after Carr. I mean, I think they're going to do a way better job with Waller. I just don't think and no Jacobs. I don't think Kenyon Drake, Darren Waller offense alone gets it done against the Steelers defense, who we saw shut down the Bills.
Yeah, don't blame you. I also just don't think there are going to be more than 30 points scored in that game. So it's gonna come down to a few weird plays. Whoever gets the first big deep shot and gets ahead early could probably be the team that wins that game. Sure. Minnesota, Arizona. This is going to be a really, really fun one. Minnesota's defense is kind of in shambles. I don't think Arizona's is as good as it was last week. I don't think Chandler Jones is going to come away with 5 sacks again. But I do think Arizona is going to win. Like a lot of points in this one, if you're doing FanDuel or DraftKings, any kind of DFS, attack this game, get a few pieces from it. There are going to be some fireworks in this one, but Arizona is going to win, I think.
It's a tough one too, but I have Arizona taken away. Arizona's a good early season team before they'll crumble. We know it's going to happen right around mid to late November. They're going to probably lose a lot of games later on this season when people get beat up. They have a good initial roster. Always question their depth, but I'm going to go Arizona in this one just because I got to go with a small sample size, but losing to Cincinnati wasn't an ideal matchup there for Minnesota.
No, absolutely not. Minnesota, it's only a matter of time. And I've been saying that Mike Zimmer's on the hot seat for like 3 years now, and I don't know how he really hasn't been, but I think he's finally going to be on the hot seat if they go down 0-2 against 2 non-playoff teams from last year. Atlanta and Tampa. This one, okay, so let's talk about the spread here. The Buccaneers are favored by 13, and I feel like that's a little absurd, but also I feel like that is completely justified. Like, I know the Buccaneers are going to win this game, but I feel like it could be closer than that. I don't want to bet on it, though, by any respect.
I don't even want to touch that. I mean, I think they could be way more than that. I mean, sure, it's easy to say within 13. I mean, pick the worst team in the league, and it's possible for them to stay within 13. And I think they could be one of the worst teams in the league. So I don't see it happening. I just don't see them, really moving the ball. They didn't look great last week.
Looked bad.
I just straight up think their time's done as any type of real competitor. They're going to see the cellar for a little while.
Yeah, they'll probably be taking a quarterback in the first round next year. You could probably see them in the top 3 picks of the draft, which could make them a really fun team next year, but now definitely not so much. Another really fun game, Dallas and the Chargers. I mean, like, this is just I feel like this is just a replay of the Cowboys-Bucks game. And I think it's going to go pretty similarly. I think both teams are going to put up like 28 points or so. I think that the Chargers are going to come away with it, and Dallas is going to lose another heartbreaker.
I got Dallas in this one. I think their offense does enough to really neutralize them. And I really think that I like Dak Prescott on this one. I think you'll get to see Ezekiel Elliott get going a little bit more than he did. For all the bust talk, like, he is going to still get his. I'm sorry. Yeah. And I think that Dallas does get it done. I didn't particularly love the Chargers' performance last week. I think Dallas will do enough, and they've already lost, to continue to stay around 9-7, 9-8. Right around that number. And I think that today they get done. This is where they show that, hey, we're going to win games this year.
And of course, you can see all mine and Kevin's picks over on Tally site. Everyone at Trainwreck Sports is putting in their picks over there. We're actually ranked 9th out of all sports organizations in our picks over there right now. So for your betting, definitely go over there and see everything we have to say. But continuing with these games here, Tennessee in Seattle. I mean, this has to be a get-right game for Tennessee, but Seattle's pass rush did look a little better. I mean, Tennessee should put up points. They definitely should. They have the offense too, but they don't have the defense to stay even close to Russell Wilson. So Seattle wins this easy. Yeah, no problem with me with Seattle. Not picking Tennessee in a game in a pick'em game right now. I'm going straight Seattle. I don't think they have the firepower at all to compete up with. Could that Ryan Tannehill regression finally be coming? We'll see, but I'm going with Seattle. And then Bears, Bengals. I actually really think this game is going to be fun. I think there are going to be a lot of points in this game. I think Joe Burrow is going to, say what you want about, last week, the Vikings defense was not beat up. He beat the Vikings defense up because they had to stay on the field so goddamn much. I like the Bengals to win this one against the Bears. They're underdogs right now. I believe they opened as 2.5 point underdogs. And if you were able to bet on them, like straight up money line there, that's great. I think Joe Burrow is going to go 2-0. Yeah, I got Cincinnati in this one as well. I think that they've played pretty well. They start off with a pretty favorable matchup here to go to 2-0. They'll obviously face some of their regression, but I got Cincinnati. And then moving into Sunday night, I mean, what a Sunday night game, honestly. Chiefs-Ravens, amazing matchup. Even though Baltimore did not look particularly great last week against the Raiders, it was really a game of who wanted to win less. And it was kind of like the Bills-Steelers game of who wanted to win less, except there were more points in that game. But for this one, I think Chiefs win and it won't be particularly close. Again, it seems like there are a lot of high-scoring matchups this week, and this is just going to be another one of them. Just all I can say is make sure you tune into Sunday Night Football tonight because it's going to be a doozy. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you said it best. What better way to cap the week, right? Well, actually, no. Way better way to cap the week. Packers Lions Monday Night Football. Oh, okay. Oh, man, all right. That's see on Trainwreck Fantasy Football on Thursday or whenever the hell we did that show. Steve was saying the worst part about this game is it's not that it could be close because it just can't be close. And then Jordan and I said, no, this game could definitely be close. I like the Lions to cover the 11-point spread. Don't think they're gonna win. But I could see this being a 40-30 game on Monday Night Football, but one of the ugliest ones you ever see. I'm hammering a lot of favorites because I was sick of the road teams and kind of the way 2020 went. So I'm going home teams a lot in favorites. I just think they're going to get it done this week. And in a fairly top heavy league, you're not going to get upsets like that every week. Going Green Bay easily in this one. I don't know that they'll cover. They didn't look great. Probably one of the worst teams to come out of week one. Really, that was an awful performance. Oh my god. But I'm gonna go ahead and go with Green Bay easily, and I don't think I actually put KC, but I got to put KC down on my ledger over Baltimore. Yeah, no, I think you did, but we went through that game kind of quickly, just talking about how fun it's going to be honest. But last game, obviously, the reason we're here, Bills Dolphins. Kevin, what's your prediction for the game? How do you think it's going to go? Give us your score. I think the Bills have plus matchups. I don't think you'll see too many 2-loss stretches and underneath Sean McDermott in general, but especially with this offense. Could go differently. Say they had a really high, big, huge blowout against Pittsburgh. Maybe they could get caught off guard here. It's not going to happen now. That game got out of the way. So for better or for worse, I think it was possible to start 1-1 this season. And it's going to still continue to happen, in my opinion. I got the Bills getting right for the most part in this game with a 35-20 win. I think they do enough offensively. I just do not think that they have the firepower. I think Pittsburgh maxed out their points last week, absolutely maxed them out they milked out every last point. And Miami's even a little bit worse on offense. And I think the Bills get to 21 and win the football game. I just do not see Miami being able to do more than kick 2 field goals as they get deep into Bills territory like we saw from Pittsburgh. Really feeling good about this 35-20. I think it's not just me being a Bills fan and trying to guess out of thin air. A lot of plus matchups. I think you'll see the Miami offense get going at times, but they're just not going to be able to move the ball quick enough and fast enough, especially if they're going to try this 2 tight end set that they may try. So 35-20, and I'm feeling good.